Let's talk about Beckwith, by the way, and move on to him because he's in the news this week again. Can't seem to avoid it. He is a shameless attention whore, but he's getting it for probably not the reasons he would like this week. So Tom LoBianco had this at 24 Site News. He's been all over this story. You should go subscribe to him over there on Substack. So Life Church, this is where Beckwith preaches. That's his other gig. Is losing congregants amid fallout from reports involving lead pastor Nathan Peternel, including allegations of inappropriate sexual conversations with minors and the arrest of his son on child sexual abuse material charges. Former congregants estimate at least 100 families have left the church's largest campus, which is led by Beckwith, who is also a church employee and a close ally of Peternel. So church leadership have allegedly pressured departing families to return and offered conflicting explanations about how explicit videos involving Peternel and his wife were found on his son's phone. Beckwith has publicly defended his friend and co-host of podcast Jesus, Sex, and Politics, urging congregants not to ask questions and framed the controversy as attacks by demonic enemies. That's us, apparently. While declining to address the underlying allegations. All of this, while at the same time, Beckwith is butting up against his boss, Mike Braun. They're publicly contradicting each other over whether the Trump administration threatened to withhold federal funding after Indiana lawmakers rejected Trump's congressional maps. Braun called Beckwith's claims fake news, saying there was no explicit threat or quid pro quo, even as he previously warned lawmakers that rejecting the maps could strain Indiana's relationship with the administration. Beckwith, however, has doubled down, citing conversations and a now deleted Heritage Action post claiming federal funds could be stripped if Indiana failed to pass the maps. Democratic Party Chair Karen Tallian called the conflicting accounts irreconcilable, raising questions about whether threats were made and who is telling the truth. Now, GOP legislative leaders like Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray downplayed any fallout, saying Indiana's relationship with the federal government is expected to remain stable. Maria, I want to come back to you here. Any relationship involving Micah Beckwith seems like stable would not be an apt descriptor.
I mean, back to the Vanity Fair article, right? Totally unstable, and at odds, and can't get their messaging, correct. And again, how many times do we need to be told, that, in terms of, what their aims are, what their violence that they're perpetuating every day. And again, in terms of Life Church, that's stunning, that the audacity. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. And I keep whatever. I was raised, here. So if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. How many times do we have to be told? And what were the conditions in that in the home? That these children were being perpetrated upon. What were those conditions? But don't ask questions. Don't ask questions.
Don't ask what that's deep, Maria. Yeah. That's the evil liberals like us that are planting these seeds of doubt in their congregation, and gotta ignore what your eyes tell you. I want to pick up the pace a little.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to point out that, pedophilia is, comes from, the tolerance of pedophilia comes from, above the top of the ladder in terms of, this administration. So we're just seeing, the tolerance of this. And unfortunately, Indiana's had so many cases lately coming out. And actually, I'm glad that they're coming out, because that means people are reporting, right? But if there's that many coming out, then how many have not been reported? And it's just like,
yeah, and
don't prey upon children.
they always want to call us groomers, but when you look at where the abuse is coming from, it always seems to be in the churches.